of a week. Painting, nailing, building, cutting. TeenServe is over, but what happened this week doesn't have to end. This week, at over 300, some people came and did an extreme makeover on many houses. And when you build a ramp, as you can see in some of those homes, you have to make sure the board is level, both horizontally and vertically. And the same is true of what happened through these teens, through the volunteers this last week at TeenServe. Homes were painted, ramps and decks were built, but there was something more that happened. 3 great things happened, and they're going to really hit this, and I want you to hear them, but to help get us ready to hear them, I want us to see when TeenServe comes, it's not about painting a house. In order to get the real message across, these kids who are coming, that are sacrificing time and money, they're doing all this work, are coming to connect. They're coming to connect horizontally to the homeowners, to each other, but they're also coming to connect vertically with God. Let's hear from them.
I have a different perspective this year because I was not on a cruise, so I kind of got to hang around school all day, be, on call for any kind of emergencies or anything that came up. But one of the biggest things I took out of it this year is, we've been planning this for, actually, I think almost 2 years. We were trying to get him to come to Butler. And they keep saying congratulations, Jason and Vicki, and thank you, Jason and Vicki. But honestly, seeing the volunteers this week and all that they did, we wouldn't be up here. It wouldn't have happened without you guys. And I am so thankful for that. And you guys have grasped our love and enjoyment of TeenServe, and that you guys got to see, because we come back and we talk about it every year, but you guys got to actually witness it this week. And I am so thankful and excited that you guys all came and you got to see where all the kids are from and talk to them, and we can share in our stories. And I actually wish I could have all of the volunteers come up here too, because I know they probably have lots of stories to tell. But I just want to say thank you from the bottom of Jason and I's heart for everything that you've done in supporting us in this week. So. Bree, you're first. You want to sit down, or are we going to do funny story first?
Funny story first.
We're going to go down the line and tell a funny story? Okay, so everybody gets to tell a funny story first.
Oh. Okay. Honestly, I didn't really think about this, and I probably should have. So, okay. So, I guess my funniest story would be that it had to deal with the roof. So, we were at our work site, and me being the only blue band there, which means that you're able to go higher on the ladder, you're able to get on roofs. Easy stuff, not really. But, I'm terrified of heights. I don't get up there. You won't see me up there. And this time, our crew leader, he was he wasn't like chubby, but he was like a built man. He was 260 pounds, and he was like, that roof's not gonna hold me, you're gonna have to get up there. I was like, So, it takes me about 10 minutes to get onto the roof, because, I can climb up the ladder fine, yeah. Getting off the ladder, that's a different story. So here I am hugging, and I think they got a video of this too. I am probably about in tears hugging this wall, trying to fling myself on to this roof. So finally we got up there. I got that part of the house that was up there painted. It was good. It wasn't all done, so I was like, I have to get up here tomorrow. So I'm trying to get down, and they're like, it's easy, you just have to just kind of swing around. I'm not doing that. I'm not doing that. So I'm up there, and I can't get down. It's been a while, and this guy that's walking by, he just comes right up the ladder, and me being the person I am, you're taught stranger danger. So I'm terrified because this guy, he's right there, he's like, I'll help you down, and he's like coming for me. I'm like, get back. No, we're just, I don't know, honestly, it was kind of funny, but it was really nice. It still took me about 20 minutes to get down, but it was an experience.
Honestly, I haven't prepared for this at all, and I can't think of anything.
Tell your juggling story.
Okay. So we were getting ready for lunch, and we have around 6 to 7 oranges, and for whatever reason, like, my crew leader, he's like, hey, I can juggle, and he just pulls out 3 oranges and just starts going. I'm like, hey, I used to be able to do this. So I did grab 3 more, and I try, and I'm like failing, and everyone's like, hey, Grayson. Well, first let me explain something. We had this picture contest where like you take a funny picture and you say like hashtag TeenServe 2017, and during the service they'll pick a winner, and you'll go up there and you'll win. So like, hey Grayson, just throw up the oranges and look up and like look scared. And so I just throw all 3 up at once, and I'm like, ah! And so I do that, and the people in my crew just got these perfect pictures where I'm just like looking up, and then one where they're hitting my body. And I just thought that was kind of funny.
Andy won.
Oh yeah, and I won.
Okay, I have 2 stories because I did come prepared. First, I just want to tell you, I don't know if you guys really know much about teenage girls, but they're really attached to their phones. It's terrifying how attached they are. And all week they've been trying to get me, get the Wi-Fi password. We need to bribe you coffee and chocolate. And I'm like, yes! What they didn't know is I had the Wi-Fi password all week. all week. For real, I had it all week. I did. Best kept secret ever. It was really hard. Like, they were going to give me mashed potatoes and everything. I was like, okay.
That's what you're talking about. Okay, listen it. Audrey, is that what you were talking about?
Okay. Audrey knows. You can. Okay, so the second story is during our group devotionals at the crew site. There was this one day that we had to say these key words, and you had to stare at everybody in your group and make direct eye contact. I'm socially awkward, so I don't like looking people in the eye for massive amounts of time. It makes me really uncomfortable, and it makes them really uncomfortable. So every time that they say the word, I go. Everybody in my crew. And then the next question was, what were you thinking when they made eye contact with you? And your crew leader was like, I was thinking, what in the world is she doing?
I don't think mine's that funny. Okay, so we had to scrub, we took an entire day to scrub our house with TSP, and my resident is pretty old, and he's one of a kind. And, so I was in charge of spraying the house with the hose, and the stream on it was pretty strong. So, and he would just like randomly like come up behind us and just like chill with us and stuff. Well, there's a kid in front of me, and I was waiting to spray the area that he was scrubbing. My resident came over to me and grabbed the hose, completely drenched the kid. It was so bad. And the kid turned around and thought it was me. I was like, it's not me. And then the guy laughed, and he was like, yeah, that's a funny story.
All right, I had like a super awesome crew all week long, and they just worked their butts off for even the younger kids. We had 2 kids that were 14, I think, on my team, and I was like, oh man, 14-year-old boys, here we go. And one of them kind of fulfilled what I would have thought, and so by day 1, everyone worked really hard, and we made a lot of progress. And day 2, a kid got the title of the foreman, because every 10 minutes, he'd walk around the house, be like, you guys are doing a great job. And he'd be like, get to work, what are you doing? My job. And so I had always made him do I I would like think of something that I didn't want to do, but hey, while you're not doing anything, if you want to go over there and paint inside the dog pen, where there's a massive dog and it smells really bad. So he's like, it stinks in here. I was like, just get it done and then you don't have to be in there.
Okay, so every night in our room, it was pretty crazy. And Abby, who is not here, one night decided that she was going to sprint laps around our air mattresses. They were all like lined up to where you could reach them from, you could just like sprint across and reach them. And she was just doing laps. And she went to run, I think it was Faith's bed. And she had almost made a full lap. And there was a Bible laying on the bed. And she completely wiped out and face planted on the floor. And I was laying in my bed and she just lay there. She was like, ow. And then she scraped her knee and she thought that she was gonna wither away and she had to get a Band-Aid from one of the characters.
So on one of the first couple days, my crew, like, we like to pick on each other. And this one kid, Dylan, he had a bag of Cheetos. We were eating lunch. And he got to the bottom of the Cheeto bag. And there's like this huge, enormous Cheeto. And there's like a little Cheeto covered with like 3 inches of powder. And he's like, I'm not going to eat this. Don't let him eat this. And Nolan's like, whatever. Okay. So he takes it. He's like, kind of like debating whether he's going to eat it or not. And we didn't think he was going to. So then he breaks it in half. And like, you could like see like the thick layer. I have a picture of it, but it's not up there. And so we didn't think he was actually gonna eat it. Well then he's like, okay, whatever, I'll eat it. So he takes a bite and he just gets like the most awful looking face. And I have a picture of that too. But he was gonna tell the crew story later that night about eating the Cheeto, because we were just picking on him. But he lost the Cheeto. And so the next day, he's like, well, maybe you got to throw in the trash. And so he's digging through the trash the next day, and there's the bag, and there's the Cheeto in it. And when I said, well, you know that saying, if you love something, let it go. And if it comes back, it was meant to be. And he's like, I'm not eating it again.
I didn't plan for this. One day on my crew site, we were painting one side of the wall, and I was under the ladder because there was an area that we missed and that needed repainted. So I was under the ladder, and this kid was on the ladder getting the top, and all of a sudden his bucket falls, and it missed me, but I had like a big streak in my hair of paint. Luckily I got it out, most of it. But then that same day, our resident came out and they were looking at the house, and we kept asking him how it was and how it looked, and he said, well, it looks great, yeah, you're doing good. And he just kept coming out and doing that, and it was really nice, and we were all having fun.
All right, so on Wednesday, we only had to work half a day, and then we could go with our youth group to Fort Wayne and do whatever. So we went to the mall, and we went into Sephora, and Allie over here, she's never been to Sephora, so she gets in there, and she's like, didn't know that you could try things. So she goes, and she's running around. She has a face full of makeup, and she's like, where's the mascara? I need mascara. Help me find mascara. And she couldn't find any, so at the end, she goes and she's wiping her eyes, and she had dark eyeshadow on, and she has black all over her. It was funny. Yeah, and I was putting on lipstick, I think, and I leaned into like this open rack of lipstick, and it got all over me as well. So, don't take us all to Sephora. All right.
That didn't happen, by the way, just like totally, okay. So, mine involved her and Brianna, and this was Friday night, and it was probably about 1:30 in the morning. And we're supposed to be that at 10:30 again. No. So we decided we wanted to go to the snack machine. And so, you know, we have like guards out, so we're not supposed to be out there. So then we're like walking, and we had to go to the one all the way across the school because it actually has the good stuff in it. And so we're going down the ramp, and Marissa is like trying to be like a ninja, and she does all these like karate moves, and she's like leaning against the wall, like, you know, like she's wearing black, trying to camouflage. And then she just did not want to be there. She was so mad. She thought we were gonna get in huge trouble.
No, you guys were just like yelling while doing this. You were going to swamp and screaming. I'm like, the cosplay was like,
So yeah, that's
Okay, the principal says we can pull that video up.
We need that video.
it was good.
Well, our resident, his name was Alex, and about 10 years ago, when we had TeenServe back here, Roddy, one of the leaders this year, Alex came and dumped a bucket of ice cold water on him. So 10 years later, we decided to do it to our crew. So he dumped it all over us. After that, his brother had filled about 500 water balloons and threw them at us. So we had a big water balloon fight after that. And then after that day, when we were driving back to Eastside, we all got the same idea that we should prank the other crew that we drive with. So I had to call my mom and ask her if we could go to the house and grab some water balloons. So we do that, and well, we say that once we get to their house, we say that we got ice cream for you guys, but before we give this to you, we got to take a picture of you. So when he says smile, that was the key word to open the cooler and get the water balloons out. So when he said that, we all threw him at the other people. And also Alex dumped it on our crew. It wasn't on our crew leader, Levi. It was on us, and this one girl, Sarah, that was on our crew, she yelled, "That wasn't the plan!" Because it was supposed to be dumped on Levi. And also, every morning, we all had to wake up to, "Good morning, work campers."
You could talk for hours.
So I have two stories, and the first one is I'm with my crew, and everybody has to go to the bathroom from a long day of working. So we all get in the car, and our group leader, our crew leader, says that Siri hates her. And so she turns on Siri and says, "Okay, find the nearest gas station, Siri." So we go on a 10-mile drive to the nearest gas station, which was actually about 5 minutes away from our house, walking distance. And so when we get there, we ask the person up front, "Where's your bathroom?" And they say, "We don't have public bathrooms." So we ask, "Is there a bathroom anywhere near?" And he says, "Oh, about 5 miles away, there's another bathroom." So we get there, and there's a porta potty. Our second story is that I'm alone at the house, and everybody went to the gas station. The house we were working on, the woman walks up the door and says, "Come here, Jacob." So I walk up to the door, and she walks away for like 5 minutes and comes back with a red bag. So I open the door, and she says, "Do you see this bag?" And I say, "Yes." She said, "It's a red bag." I like the color red. And at this point, we've already painted half of the house gray because she chose that over the summer. And so she says, "I would like you to paint the house red." So we had spent the entire day painting one wall, and she says, paint the house red, and she tells me about this huge story about how she went to New York and everything just to get her house red, and it was her final dream. So we stood there for about 10 minutes awkwardly talking about a red bag. And so the house got red in the end.
I don't know how I can top that, but let's try. Okay, so you all know that before, when my face was smooth, and there was stuff here. My parents tell me I look how much I don't believe that. But anyway, so a few weeks prior to TeenServe, I had the amazing idea, hey, people usually think I look older than I do, so how about halfway through the week, I'll shave it all off and see if people recognize me. And so on Wednesday, our free day, we went back to the school at 12, and then we left for, what was Wednesday?
Commander Ops.
I don't know what he's talking about, that's combat ops, but anyway, we get there, and I brought like my shaving stuff with me in the car. So we get out and we get in there, and then I see the bathroom, and Grayson knew about this. I look at Grayson like, come with me. We're gonna go to the bathroom, and I'm going to shave my face, and we're gonna be there, so it doesn't look that awkward if someone walks in. So we get in there, and I didn't think about this, but I was like, wait, what are we gonna do with all the hair when it falls off? So while I'm shaving, Grayson is picking up the hair. Onto the kitchen sink. I'm throwing it in the trash can. All right, I'll pause for Grayson while we're at it. So I get done shaving, and then I walk out, and I'm like, hey everybody, and they're like, no way, your face is smooth again. And then everyone started touching my face like, ah, it's so smooth. And then I went back to the school expecting like, who are you, bud? And it was kind of depressing, but I was like, alright, that's much.
Yeah, the whole time we're in there getting ready to go into the game, and we're all like, where is Brock? Where is Grayson? We could not find him for, what, 10 minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so my funny story was I took Kiri to Walmart on Friday in the afternoon. And we get back to the school, and I pull up over by the Thunderdome, and I park, and she's got like 20 bags and balloons and all this stuff. So I'm helping her carry it all in, and I'm like, okay, don't forget the car. Don't forget the car's here. So I go in, help her unload, and then I see my sister. I'm like, oh my gosh, hey, you're making coffee. I can't wait to have some coffee. And we're talking. And then I end up going and getting called down by the office. So I walk down to the office. Hour and a half later, somebody comes over the speaker and they're like, there is a Ford Edge out running around the tool room. And I'm thinking, what is this, a stalker alert? There's somebody running a car going back and forth by the tool room. And they're like, it's got Navy plates and it's got a POW sticker. And I was like, oh my gosh, that was my car. I left it running for an hour and a half.
My funny story was our first day we got on the site, and I had the kids washing the trailer that we were working on while I was cutting the wood. And they were washing one side, and it took them about as long as I thought. And then they started washing the other side. This kid runs over there and just starts scrubbing like mad. And I'm like, what the heck are you doing? And he goes, hey, the lady that we're borrowing the water from just ripped me. And I guess he told her that we were going to use like 2 buckets of water. Well, yeah, we didn't have a water spigot, so we had to use water from the neighbor. And he told her, oh, we're only going to use like a bucket or 2 of water. Well, we hooked a hose up to it, and we were using water. So he was running around like he just got his butt whipped. And I had to go over. I was like, "I'll just keep going." I said, I went over there and smoothed things over with him, but it's kind of funny seeing him panic. He was panicked.
All right, so that was to get rid of all the nervous jitters of sharing some testimonies about the week. As you can tell, like we all were really close together. It was just an awesome time just to build community in our group. And you heard kind of, I guess, lingo from the week, cruise and cruise stories and all this stuff. And so if none of that makes sense, we'll try to kind of make it make more sense. But God's really done some awesome things, and not just all these fun things that we've been talking about. God's done some really cool things in people's lives in this group, and so they just wanted to share that with you. So in a second, I'm going to hand off the microphone, and they're just going to share some testimonies. But we're just so thankful for all the work that you put in to help us to have this experience that we could have done without our church. And so if somebody wants to share, who wants to go first? They said 3 talks, so here.
Okay. So, first of all, for those of you who don't know me, I live about 5 hours away from here, around by Evansville, Indiana. I'm Bert and Pat's granddaughter. So, it was kind of like a blessing to get to come up here again, because I didn't think I would, especially because, 1, work, then 2 days before we're about to come up here, I passed out at work and I'm knocking my head on the concrete floor. So, due to like this condition that I have, we're like, okay, we have to make sure that everything's all right before you go, and you're like building wheelchair ramps, you're lifting like these heavy things and doing all this. So it worked out, and I was really, really happy that I could. So, anyways, kind of part of what happened there was our speaker, extremely, extremely good. He made things make sense to where probably we hadn't have known before. But there were times where he had you stand. Where the first night it was, if you are angry with God, or if you're angry with other people, if you have all this, and he explained to us why pretty much you don't get, like, okay, it sounds like you don't get that right, but you have no reason to be angry. You have none of this. And one of our other speakers, Roddy, the Tennessee youth leader, he was like, worrying is just a small form of atheism, because you're not believing that God has everything in his hands. That you're like, oh no, I have to do this and I have to do that. It's like, no, you don't. So the first night, it's kind of like when somebody, you know when somebody's tapping you on the shoulder. So you know when God's kind of poking at your heart. He was kind of like, okay, you haven't been the happiest with people. You haven't been doing this. You haven't been doing that. You need to stand. And at first, we didn't know we were going to. He was like, okay. He's like, all right. Everybody's bowing their heads, doing this stuff. He's like, I want you to make eye contact with me. That's you. I'm like, okay. I look up. That's me. So he was like, all right. Now on 3, you're going to stand, and everybody's going to look at you. I was like, oh no. So I stand, I do all this, and you don't realize how scary that is when you have everybody and their brother looking at you. So you do that, and he had us go down too, and just kind of like lay everything out before God, everyone, and everybody was invited then. It was good. And the next night, he did something very similar. He's like, okay. He's like, you've already given your life to Christ, or you haven't before. He said, he told us these stories about how even just like this elder in the church, how we go through the motions sometimes. We don't, like maybe we had this relationship with God, but where we lose that, or we do something and we just go step by step. Well, yeah, we might be doing all this stuff. We might be active in the church. He had a niece who like taught Sunday school, did all of this, but she had never had this true relationship. He said, and you could have before. He said, but it could be gone. And I felt that little poke at the heart again. I was like, I don't want to stand again. This is not happening. It happened. So I stood again because I noticed you go through these motions, you go through so many things, and while you think, yeah, because I was a devotion person at my school, I led Wednesday morning Bible studies for anybody pretty much who wanted to come with this other guy in our group. And I was like, okay, I might know these things, but I didn't have that real connection. You can know as much as you want, and you can still kind of have nothing too. So it was kind of this kind of big relief. This kind of like this weight lifted, and I'm learning too, because I talked with our speaker later, and you kind of learn how to have that relationship, how to grow, and how to not go just through the motions. And that made me feel really special. Because all of this, and again, our phrase was love wildly and wildly be loved, or it might be backwards, but same concept here. And we were talking, and 1 Corinthians 13, I think, kind of puts it all into place too. If you have love, if you don't have love, you are nothing. And that kind of hit me hard. I was like, okay, well, I think I have love. Lord, I hope I have love. I was like, oh. And one of the girls in our youth group, after pretty much, in my crew, not youth group, she still kind of didn't get it. And I was the devotion doer for our group, because we all have different jobs, but mine, I'm kind of talking. So I was like, yeah, we got this. But she was like, okay, I don't get it. She was like, you can be kind, compassionate. She was like, doesn't love just go with all those things? I was like, it should, but it doesn't. So I was like, think about this. You have a bank. You have your compassion, your kindness, your courage, bravery. You can give everything that you have. I was like, but think about this. You have things that you do. You have ways that you have to show God to other people. And it's kind of like paying the bills. And if you don't have love, you are going to fall short every time, and you will become bankrupt. You will not get there. And it kind of put everything in perspective, because I had no clue what I was saying then, honestly. It's just kind of like, you know, like those things that are just placed in your mind, you're like, that wasn't me. That wasn't me at all. So I kind of see like God working through everything. And the lady whose house we were paying just over, not too far, it's literally a minute from here. The first house we did anyways, we got to hear her story too, and it felt really, really special. Because while we were doing stuff, she worked from home, she did stuff online and everything with her job, but slowly we got to meet her more and her kids, and she has quite a few, but she said before, she said she wasn't really a Christian. She kind of opened up to us about that and things of that nature, but she said about 2 years ago, after her divorce of her husband, she had nowhere, and she found Christ, and it was like really kind of special to hear like how that all played out and how that went and how it was done. And she said things keep moving forward, so she done her devotions with us. She did everything, and to hear about love and what exactly God's love is and what it's not, she had so many misconceptions about it, and she ended up crying, and it kind of brought tears to all of our eyes too. But to be able to grow with someone like that and to share and to do so much, it's, people think that we come here to serve, and we do, and we spread God's word, but honestly, the people who we work with, they serve us so much more. So it's special, it really is. But it was kind of nice too, because the end day, where the last day that we had, sorry. I can go on. But we ended up taking them to the park, and it was just nice because they ended up not being able to come, but she said we made an impact on her and her family's life. So.
Before this week, I don't know, I never really like saw God as more like a father. Like I always saw him as kind of being like angry and just like, I never really like saw like the love. Like I always knew it said like he loves us and like nothing can separate us from his love, but you know, I never really like truly like felt it or almost even like believed it. And of course this week, our theme is love. And so just during this week, I just finally realized that God loves me and nothing's going to change that. And I really felt it this week. And then I realized another thing, like He answers prayers. Like I had like a lot of questions, and just we'd have like sermon, like they would talk about that, and I was like, okay. And there's another time where I felt God, like He wanted me to go tell one of our leaders something, and I was like, okay, the next person, like the next leader walks in the room, I'll go talk to him. And the next one walks in like, right after I say that. And then I'm like, okay, I'd rather talk to someone else. And like immediately after I say that, another leader walks in. I'm like, okay. So I wanted to go on and talk to him, and yeah.
This whole week was really, really new to me because I'm not used to seeing it from the adult aspect. And I say adult because I'm not really inside. I'm like, oh. But it was just, I know last year when you guys came up and did the TeenServe Sunday, I went back to the key and I was like, next year, whenever, I need to be a part of this. Like, I need to get in here and try to be a part of it. It's been a wild ride. But mostly you guys, these are some great kids. Like, these are some awesome, awesome kids that love wildly, and they love each other and everybody that they can come in contact with. Like, they are just great kids. And I know that youth is really important, and it's just, you can't, there's no future without them. If we aren't investing our time in them and making sure that they grow up to be how awesome these guys have turned out to be, then really what are we doing here?
So before I went to my first mission trip to Jamaica, I prayed a lot about God strengthening my faith, because for a while I felt like it was kind of just dangling there and it wasn't very strong. So Jamaica helped a whole bunch, and then that week I came back, I just felt like Satan was attacking me like no other, and I just felt awful. And then the night before we left for TeenServe, I was filled with so much anxiety. I just laid in the bed. I was like, guys, in control, guys, in control. So then once I got to TeenServe, like, I felt like my faith grew so much, and I felt so much better about just like everything. I felt like nothing could ever possibly get in the way of my relationship with God. Like, no matter what, I'm not gonna doubt that He is in control and that He will literally do anything for me. And then the whole week was about love, and it's just like, it's so hard to grasp that someone could love me and everyone else that much. Like, it's so hard to grasp, because for us, we easily get mad at each other and like, oh my gosh, I'm liking you or something. And like, He always just forgives us, and just like, it blows my mind that someone has that big of a heart to love everyone, even with all the awful things that we do. So that just, it really made my heart so happy, and just made my faith really
All right, I'm gonna try to whip through my story. So we got to serve this guy down the road, and it was just, I think more than anything this week, man, he was such a blessing. He kind of shared his story with me, and while we were out serving at his house, he came out. He was almost walking around as much as our little foreman was, but he felt so blessed by the work that we were doing, and he would ride down to the neighbors on his four-wheel and be like, "You're painting their house too, and it doesn't look as good as mine, but it looks great." It was awesome. But it was just, it was cool for me to be able to encourage him, because he said that he was a Christian, but his faith was shaky, and he hadn't been to church in a while, and he felt stagnant in that. But just like by the end of the week, he joined us with devotions, and then Friday he couldn't come out for devotions because he's like, I need to grill you guys hot dogs for lunch. Okay. He grilled 50. We had a 6-person crew. Okay. And so, but he ran out right at the end, and I was like, hey, is there anything we can pray for you about, or and would you like to pray with us? And he goes, man, I was hoping I didn't miss it because I've got this going on in my life, and I'd really like to pray with you guys. And it was cool to see how God uses us, and all the groups have stories like that. Just how God has used them to bless the homeowner and just be his hands and feet. And I think that's what TeenServe is all about. And so it was just really cool to be able to serve someone who was so gracious with us. And so,
okay, so for the past probably like a year or so, I've just felt very like unloved and unlovable. And well, this week it was all about love, so that's kind of ironic. And on Monday I felt him like working in me, and then on Tuesday he was like stand up if you're ready to completely give your life to God. And it's not that I wasn't a Christian or anything, but I've never given myself completely to God. I've never given every situation to God and all of my thoughts to God. And so I stood up, and it kind of just hit me like how big of a decision that was. Like, and then he also said or I don't know, somebody said, if you're not like following it, that's almost a lie. And that it just hit me. I was I just gave my whole entire life to God, and I can't just be on this TeenServe high with it. I have to go and live it. And I was still struggling, and so I went and I asked Dustin if he would pray with me. And he prayed and he talked to me, and I truly felt loved. And it was, I don't know, his love just kind of made me realize how much God loves me. And then through the rest of the week, I felt God's love. And I felt, on Wednesday, I felt what everybody had told me about. I felt the joy, and I've never felt that. And during worship, I'm normally really emotional, and during one of the songs, I was just singing, and then I realized I was smiling, and it was weird. I was like, oh, I don't do this. And I felt happy, and I felt loved, and I feel like I'm not in that pit anymore. So yeah.
This week I worked at a house in Waterloo, and like I said, my previous one went super well. And the first day, this is kind of more of a funnier story, but we drop off Rochelle's crew at her house, and then we have to turn around in this big old roundabout thing and come back. And there's a trash can in the way, and so Nolan gets out, and he moves it for us, and then we move the big 15-passenger van to the trailer, and we get out. And as Nolan gets back in, he's dead serious, straight face and all. He's I'm pretty sure there's a dead body in there. And so we just kind of joked about that. But my resident, Tawana, she told us on the first day that her son probably won't come out. She's got 2 kids that go to DeKalb. And her son has a learning disability. And she said that she had just paid off the trailer in March, and when he turns 18, he's gonna give him the house. And so that was really awesome that she told us about that. And we finished house on Thursday, and she also has a 13-year-old daughter who's really nervous about going into high school this year. And we had just finished the porch and the little steps that go up to our house. And so we weren't coming back, and we were hoping that they'd be there on Friday, but Wanda sent my crew leader a text, and she told us that her daughter has PTSD, and she has never seen her daughter smile that big in her life about seeing those stairs we built, so I've got pictures of that too. But it was just an awesome week, and that big white house that it was frozen on the screen, that was the second house we completed, and we didn't know if we were going to get that house finished because it was calling for rain on Thursday and Friday. But we got it finished, and Jason's crew came and helped us reach all the high peaks. And it rained like right after we got done finished, or right after we finished painting the house. And so that was awesome. And then also this week has really brought to my attention the way I've been mistreating someone in my life. And so right after I got home, I called that guy and I apologized for the way I've been treating him. And I said I'd give him a hug when he gets back. So it was my stepdad. They're on a road trip this week, so I chose to go to TeenServe, and yeah, they'll be back soon.
Friday, we were listening to the preacher from TeenServe, and he was praying, and at the end of the prayer, he would always say, I want you to look in my eyes, and if you feel like you haven't fully given yourself to God, look me in the eyes, and if I haven't seen you, God has. That night I looked up, and he didn't see me, but I knew that God was watching me and watching all the others. And then next he would say, if you want to make that open and you know that you should, and God's telling you you should stand up. And everyone else should open their eyes to see. And Friday night, I looked up at him and I stood up, and everyone, we were with our crew and our residents were with us because we had a little program for everyone to come if they wanted to. And my residents look up, and my crew leader and all my crew friends and stuff looked up at me, and they were looking at me, and I was standing, and during worship throughout the week, the band Zealand would come up and play, and some songs really spoke to me, and God was talking to me through them, and I would cry sometimes, and I would cry to a few songs, and then I'd stop, and I'd breathe, and I'd pray, and then I'd start singing again to the song. And then the next day, Saturday, my mom came up to pick me up, and we were walking through the halls, and one of the adults stopped, and they walked past me first, and then stopped and looked back, and they said, "What's your name again?" I forgot your name, and I told them my name's Faith, and he's like, "Yes, I saw you stand up during the prayer yesterday, and I'm so glad you did." And he was looking at me, and he was just saying, he asked me if I knew a verse, and I didn't know it off the top of my head, and my mom, she knew it, she said it, and she was just she was hugging me, and the other guy, he hugged me, and then he walked away, and my mom really didn't ask me much, but I wanted to tell her, and I just couldn't, and now she knows that I stood up, and I wanted to give I'm a Christian, so I didn't really feel that I was giving God my best, and I wasn't giving God all I had, and it just made me happy that someone stopped and said that they were happy that I did.
Okay, I don't know where I'm going with this, so I think it was the second night, or the third, the speaker said, "Everyone stand up if you know you haven't given your life to God all the way, even if you're a Christian." So, well, first look up. So I looked up, and then he said, "Okay, now everyone's going to open their eyes, and you're going to stand up." And I'm like, no, I'm not gonna stand up because I don't really want to show everyone that, you know, I'm not really, I don't want to give my whole life to him. But he like, I feel like God like told me, no, you need to stand up. You need to show everyone that you are giving your life to me. So I stood up, and it was, everyone looked, and it was hard, but it really opened my eyes to know that God is there, and that he wanted me to stand up so that I could just show everyone, and I cried a lot that night too. What was I gonna say? I don't know where I was going with this. Okay, so yeah, that was all.
Okay, so I'm not really a good speaker, so just look, okay. But I also stood up Monday night, and it was a really, really scary thing, having to stand up in front of like almost 300 people and like be able to actually give your life to God, because I have never done that before. I don't come from a Christian household. Vicky's my only connection, and I've never gone to church until I came here. And it was just really great. And I'm just really happy that I could show that I loved God, because I've never been able to do that before.
This week was my first year of TeenServe, and I really was kind of getting separated from God at that point. And so I went to TeenServe. I was told that that was one of the best ways to get back with God. When I went, it was even more beautiful than I would have thought, and I really connected with God this week, and I'm back on track.
For me, I always have to put a funny twist on everything. So, on Wednesday or Thursday, whatever it was, Nate is like, come up to the stage if you see God in a different way than you should. And so, in my mind, I think of him as like a big guy, white beard and everything, on like Instagram, going like, next, and that's how I saw him at first. And so I'm sitting up on the bleachers, and all these people are walking down, and everybody who's sitting next to me walks down. And so I'm like, oh, I don't want to be alone. So I go down to them. And so I go down, and I'm just laying there like, and so I'm thinking, hello? Is anyone there? And so after a while, Zealand is singing songs and all this, and so I'm thinking, okay, what am I doing? And after a while, I realize, oh, he's there. You just gotta think and listen. And so this week I saw God in a different way, not as like an old guy or anything, but a guy whose love is not measurable and just awesome. And I don't know if any of you guys have seen the TV show like The Bible, but they never showed him on there, so I just made up my own idea for him as like an old guy. But Jesus, I always saw him the same way. Guy, big puffy beard, same, just awesome guy.
Alright, so I'll start with my resident. My resident, she was so nice. She was so positive about everything. She was excited that we were there, and she was so happy after we finished painting her house. She was like, oh, this looks amazing. You guys did such an amazing job. And it was just a complete pleasure to work on her house. And she made us cookies and stuff, which was awesome. amazing. She didn't like poison, so we're good. We're good. All right. I don't know. That's no. It ain't doing it. Oh yeah. But Donny looked at me like, what are you talking about? I made that food for you. You better like my food. But anyway, getting back on track, it was just an amazing time to work on our house, and my crew was amazing. And on Thursday, I think it was Thursday, Nate did the thing where he said, look into my eyes and stand up if you want to give your life to Jesus. And I did that. And while we were down after that worshiping, I was sitting there and I realized that I didn't have this like supernatural feeling of like after you would like give your life to God, and you'd be like angelic feeling, and I felt normal. And it made me realize that like feeling His unmeasurable love and joy is supposed to be normal, and that everyone is supposed to be able to know and have this unmeasurable joy at all times. And yeah.
I am so proud of all of you for being open to feeling God and seeing God's love, and I can't even tell you how proud I am. And, I know it's over the time, and it's crazy, but they all opened their hearts. Some of them had no idea this was happening today. So thank you for being patient and listening to them. But there was a lady this week who was getting her trailer painted pink, and she had a great motive on why she was painting it with pink. It was breast cancer awareness. But the paint was called Fresh Berry. It was very bright pink. And we kind of halfway through the week had issues with the owner of the mobile home park, and actually we didn't have issues with the mobile home park owner. It was the manager. So the property manager of this mobile home park was calling this 80-some-year-old woman, leaving vulgar messages, telling her that she was going to be evicted if she didn't change the color of her trailer. And Sandy was the most amazing president ever. There was 4 crews there, and everybody that met her fell in love. And everybody was devastated because, Sandy was getting bullied by this lady. And normally I would have fallen right in that whole trap and just been not very nice, saying very nice things about the lady. And the first thing I said to the person that came up and was, being dramatic about it, I said, listen, maybe that's why we're here. We need to pray for the property manager. We need to pray for Dolores. If she feels the need to bully an 80-some-year-old lady, there must be something wrong in her life. And we will repaint Sandy's trailer. We left some of the pink there. It all worked out great. She got to bless more crews because more crews went out there on Friday. Seeing it from that angle instead of getting bitter and, just being hateful and whatever. I try to push the positive spin on it, and I still have it working.
I guess I'll wrap this thing up. I thought it was cool. The last month or so, Donny's been hitting the love thing, and it kind of went right along with our whole theme. And it was cool how it kind of wrapped together, and how all our eyes got opened up this week during the speaking point, and the different things that you go through on your crew. And it's just an easy one to relate and to kind of work on, because I think we all need to love a little more. I just think all you guys out there, we couldn't have done it without you guys. You guys were loving on us, being there at 5 in the morning or 6 in the morning for your morning group, and you guys in the afternoon group, especially the first day. I mean, I think Donny looked like he just ran a marathon back there doing the dishes after his yeah, sweat. I've never seen a guy sweat like that before. But I know that once they kind of got a routine down, it all went better, and I think Rod got some fans back there for a little comfort food for everybody. So, but I really appreciate you guys doing that. I know it was hard work, especially the kitchen. I know it can be really hard and hot and humid. So I appreciate all that. I appreciate the people that went out and troubleshooted. You know, I'm only one guy, and we're only one person, and we can't do it all. And when I was out on the sites and stuff, I mean, it was just nice to have people in place that could take care of things, because I wasn't able to, you know, be there to kind of orchestrate things the way most directors are. So it was good. It was a great week. It was nice to kind of hand the baton, and so.
Yeah, I just wanted to, I'll piggyback on that and just say thank you. If you look around, if you helped out with TeenServe in any way, will you stand up for a second? We want to give you a round of applause. And this is like just a few of the people who made it possible. Like I said, there's like 300 some like work campers and crew leaders, and then we've got troubleshooters, and then we had everyone else who's like helping in the kitchen, and it was such a big thing, and God, I think, really used it to really bless the community and the people who got to take part in it. I know it was a blessing to me, and you heard their stories. God's really just doing some cool things in our youth. Again, it was like when we were getting ready to come up here, we kept having to add more chairs, and it's like cool to see, like we've got 15, 16 people up here that like committed to going and serving, and our church helps send them. And so, thank you. We really appreciate it, and I don't think it would have been possible without all of your help. So, and also I just want to shout out Jason and Vicky. Even in coming here, man, I couldn't have done it without them being here to kind of set everything up, and it was such an easy transition because of them. And I'm just so thankful for them, and we need you guys in youth ministry, and God needs you too, because you really have a heart for it. And so, for me, from them, from the church, I just want to say thank you.
I've got a few things just to help tie this up. We saw that they connected vertically to God. They connected with the residents. We also saw, you just heard the stories of how they grew horizontally with the other people in their crews and with the residents. And in that, you can see on their faces, they grew vertically in their faith with God. And then this whole thing is called TeenServe. And these kids, these crews, they were serving everyone around them horizontally. But in doing so, they served vertically. Go ahead and skip the next verse. Or next, yep, see there, I just said that. Then there's a scripture verse. And skip that, go to the next one. I'm just cutting it out because that's what I want. There we go. What we see in here, what we just heard from these kids, is what the leaders of this church said we want to be. What we just saw, what we just heard, is what this church has said we need to be in our community, in our homes, not just in this building. And as several of you guys just said, the speaker said to stand up. It's time to stand up to accept what you need to do. They already did. So what about you? They stood up. They served. They answered the call. It's time for the church to follow suit for what they did. You guys helped start that because you listened to God. This is what you guys did. And we want to emulate you. So thank you. Because you didn't say it to them. You just said it to God. So thank you for speaking for God to us. If you need to make a decision, we're going to have a time, but we're going to have a closing prayer. Jason's going to have Jason's closing prayer. Are you able to do that? We just want to thank you.
I just want to say something, a word just on my heart, that we need
For those who can't hear her, she said, we need to be bold and compassionate. Oh, passionate. Well, do be compassionate too, but bold and passionate.
Lord, just thank you for this great day. Thank you for these kids. Thank you for the missions that we've been doing, and just the way it kind of opens our hearts up, and hopefully, just continues this this feeling, this direction, and hopefully can energize the church and to continue on this feeling and this direction. Be with us this coming year. May all these kids get energized, and maybe we'll be able to build our youth group up even more through what they learned about love and openness to other people and other people around them, and just maybe taking time for that person that might be in that quiet corner. Just continue to watch over this group. Be with us as maybe we go next year, and who goes next year, and maybe we can get a lot of young adults to come alongside these kids and sleep in a classroom and do all kinds of good stuff. But just thank you for the many years that these kids have just been dedicated to the church and dedicated to service, and continue the service aspect of it, because I just think you open our hearts to you, Lord, when we do service, and I appreciate that. Continue to be with these kids as school gets ready to start up, and just watch over them and put a hedge of protection over them. In Jesus' name, I pray.